"Read," said Morrel. The young man was overwhelmed as he read. Morrel said not a word. What could he say? What need he add to such desperate proof in figures? "And have you done all that is possible, father, to meet this disastrous result?" asked the young man after a moment's pause. "I have," replied Morrel. "You have no money coming in on which you can rely?" "None." "You've exhausted every resource?" "All." "And in half an hour," said Maximilian in a gloomy voice, "our name is dishonored." "Blood washes out dishonor," said Morrel. "You are right, father. I understand you." Then, extending his hand towards one of the pistols, he said, "There's one for you and one for me. Thanks." Morrel caught his hand. "Your mother, your sister, who will support them?" A shudder ran through the young man's frame. "Father," he said, "do you reflect that you are bidding me to live?" "Yes, I do so bid you," answered Morrel. "It is your duty. You have a calm, strong mind, Maximilian. Maximilian, you are no ordinary man. I make no requests or commands. I only ask you to examine my position as if it were your own, and then judge for yourself." The young man reflected for a moment. Then an expression of sublime resignation appeared in his eyes, and with a slow, sad gesture he took off his 2 epaulets, the insignia of his rank. "Be it so, then, my father," he said, extending his hand to Morrel. "Die in peace, my father. I will live." Morrel was about to cast himself on his knees before his son, but Maximilian caught him in his arms, and those 2 noble hearts were pressed against each other for a moment. "You know it is not my fault," said Morrel. What? Wait. Okay. Oh my. What in good God is happening here? What has just transpired? Hold on. I need to wrap my head around this. Okay, this is clearly a cultural and time gap problem that we're facing. Why would Maximilian accept his father's death? Not even that. Why would Maximilian, who we don't know much about, but was, to my mind, living an honorable and successful and prosperous life in the military, come home, see his father's ledger book, and just be like, "Yeah, you're right. It's time to go. Thanks for giving me a pistol, too." What in the actual fuck is going on? Folks, just give me a second here. I'd like to have my research done before these episodes, but also, I read them. This is my first impression. So every once in a while, which seems to be getting more and more often, I need to do a little research before I can comment further. Give me 1 second here. Okay. So first, I've done some research, and it's gonna be messy. I'm gonna just read the bullet points that I've hastily scribbled down from what I've looked up in terms of the culture of the time, what was happening socially, economically, etc. I want to recognize, though, just a moment of self-awareness. Do I over-intellectualize whenever there's an emotional thing that comes up? Maybe. Is this research more to create a firewall around my own emotions, around what's happening, rather than confronting them head on? Maybe. But also, we are doing a weird thing where we won't have the conclusion to this situation today. It won't be for yet a few days. So I can't live with this on my brain for the next couple days. I need to do some research and better understand this breakneck change in events that is happening. Yesterday, Maximilian showed up, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool. He's going to stop this." And then immediately he's like, "Nah, yeah, I get it, man. Let's just both go out." Also, just want to state for the record, this is dealing with some pretty heavy real-world topics that is still, prevalent today and probably always will be. If you need help, you are not alone. There are people out there. Reach out to someone, seek help. And if you know someone that might be desperate, reach out, let them know they're not alone. Okay, so some context for what's happening here. I was like, I kind of get the idea. Like, theoretically, I understand the concept of loss of honor and reputation means a lot more back in the day than it does now. I didn't quite realize the extent of it, though. So, like, yes, him declaring bankruptcy isn't like the end of his life. I mean, he's choosing the end of his life, but uh, he would have survived. His family would have survived physically, but suddenly it's like it's more of a social death. And Morrel choosing to take his own life is essentially quarantining the dishonor from staining his family, because the bankruptcy isn't just a financial thing, it's a complete and utter social death. It means that he probably can't get his daughter married off, though Emmanuel seems pretty gung-ho on that regardless of their financial situation, because he's sticking around anyway. It's probably a hindrance, if not a complete destruction to Maximilian's military career. His credit, like honor at this time, honor and reputation was quite literally a form of currency. So you can get credit, you can get employability, you can get inheritance security, social access to different crowds and conversations. All of that goes away immediately. All of your credit's gone, all of your contacts are vanished, and all of your immediate family members are tainted by this. So it's not just your business declaring bankruptcy. Your business is you, and you are declaring bankruptcy, and the kind of royal you equals family. So it's the Morrel name, and anyone who has the Morrel name is going to be affected by this. So when he's talking about doing this and creating that quarantine of dishonor, that's giving context to that line, blood washes out dishonor. His blood is going to cancel out the dishonor that is coming to the name. He's taking responsibility in the last way he can. He is pulling all of the responsibility onto his shoulders so that it does not affect his family, and taking it literally to the grave. But I was also like, well, why this? And this is still kind of hard for me to wrap my head around. But like, this decision is more than despair and nihilism and like emotional collapse. His decision to do this is, like, as I mentioned, a quarantine, but more than that, it's dispelling any ideas of fraud. It's preserving the Morrel name as like he is taking the last honorable route that he can, even though it is desperate. It is not an honorable route. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying this is what's going through Morrel's head at the moment, at the time at which the story takes place. And that this all comes from an age when there were more classical ideas, I guess, in the zeitgeist, or just in the aristocracy circles. Like, this is pulling from more Roman and Enlightenment ethics rather than Christian ones. And this is only important so far as to say, like, Dumas made a big deal of calling Maximilian a Stoic. The Stoic is his nickname at, the military academy. So why Maximilian is just accepting this situation speaks more to the fact that his duty is to be subordinate to the situation, to the understanding of things. So he's accepting of fate. He knows, and I'm assuming trusting his father in not investigating this further. He's just like, looks at one ledger and is like, okay, you're right, let's go, let's do this thing. But he's been trained by this his entire life. Remember, he went to the Polytechnic school, and even just being in the military, it is a very regimented system of obedience. So in a way, he's not even allowing the thought of how do I feel about this to come into his head. It's simply just what is required. What's required of me? What is socially required of me in this moment? My father has accepted this as his fate, therefore I'm accepting it as my fate. It's a matter of procedure. And this is something where, I think reading it versus watching it, would, like, if we were watching a stage play, we're watching a film version of this, an actor and a director can go through all of this work to understand this. And if you watch it, it's like Shakespeare in a way. If you are unfamiliar with Shakespeare and you sit down and read it for the first time, if you read Romeo and Juliet when you're in middle school, it's hard to get through that language and see the meaning behind the kind of antiquated poetic way it's written. But when you see someone who really understands Shakespeare and can play the emotion underneath the lines, play the reality underneath the lines, then suddenly it all makes sense. And I can see with the right actor playing Maximilian, just that moment when he takes his epaulets off, it's just like a very militaristic thing to do. Just like, okay, I know exactly, like taking a gun apart and putting it back together. Just like, okay, this is the procedure. This is what I have to do in order to move forward with this moment. And you can embody that, embracing this fate much more economically. And the other comparison that occurred to me while doing this research, which I think makes more sense to me narratively or character-wise. I love samurai films, Chanbara, Akira Kurosawa, Kobayashi. They're awesome filmmakers. And watching the samurai stories, which take place, centuries ago rather than, 150 years ago, the distancing effect and the cultural distance allows me to better accept without questioning the idea of seppuku or harakiri, like the dishonor to not only yourself but the people you serve. Like, I don't obviously support it or buy it, but like I accept it a little bit more when there is more of a distancing effect. I think that the Count of Monte Cristo is still kind of too close to modern society to fully understand this, which is why it just kind of hit me in the uncanny valley. What a long episode. I'm sorry for all of the tangents here, but it was something I need to do this one for myself, folks. So join me here tomorrow. Hopefully things look better. Get that pendulum going back in the other direction, Dumas, please. Until then, okay, goodbye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.